Ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present you with the Snakening Part 2. This time we have NBC News who's snaking on Zelensky, along with Biden and some anonymous officials from the Biden administration. Now, as I said last time, there's been this sudden shift in Western media, which is not in any way coordinated together. There's no conspiracy. These people don't talk to each other behind the scenes. But there's been this recent bunch of articles that have completely changed the narrative 180 degrees. Now Ukraine is not winning. Now Ukraine's losing. Zelensky's not a hero. He's not an action movie star. He's not the guy that your girlfriend has a crush on, if I recall that article. He's this deranged, like, Time put out this article, and I did a stream on it, where they basically said he was like Hitler at the end of World War II. He was like this deranged man with a messianic complex who was playing with toy soldiers in his bunker while the war was lost. And it looks like we have another article like that coming out today. I mean, it's these articles came out within like 2 or 3 days of each other. It really makes you think that these things are all coming out at the same time. It almost seems like there's some sort of collusion going on here, and the Biden administration told them to do this. So this article title, which is way too long, but U.S. European officials broach topic of peace negotiations with Ukraine, sources say. The conversations have included very broad outlines of what Ukraine might to give up to reach a deal with Russia. I thought Ukraine wasn't going to give up anything. I thought this was as long as it takes. You have the unconditional support of America. You're not going to give up anything. We're going to take Crimea back. I guess that just got like thrown out the window. And to set the context of this, we have this sad, pathetic picture of Zelensky just totally defeated. And this is what they're putting on the front of it to set the tone for this article. This is a man who's been felted pretty bad. It's rough, bro. It's really rough. So, Washington, U.S. and European officials have begun quietly talking to the Ukrainian government about what possible peace negotiations with Russia might entail to end the war. Like, once again, we talked about this. They had that fake peace conference in Riyadh where they didn't even invite Russia. So now they're going to talk to Russia. Now they're going to talk to Russia. According to one current senior U.S. official and one former senior U.S. official familiar with the discussions, once again, just some randoid. We have no idea who this even is. The conversations have included a very broad outline of what Ukraine might need to give up to reach a deal, the officials said. Some of the talks, which officials describe as delicate, took place last month during a meeting of representatives from more than 50 nations supporting Ukraine, including NATO members known as the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, officials said. Was Ukraine even like involved in that? Like, this is a bigger snakening. This is like when garter snakes in the winter gather into this giant ball. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Yeah, there we go. That's what this looks like. Is you have these like 50 Ukrainian countries that have just gotten together in this giant mating ball to snake on Ukraine collectively. Okay, and there is unease in the U.S. government. Okay, let's see here. Where's this? Discussions have already acknowledgement of the dynamics, the dynamics militarily on the ground in Ukraine and politically in the U.S. and Europe. Officials said they began amid concerns. Amid concerns among U.S. and European officials that the war has reached a stalemate. I thought it was like a long war. I thought Ukraine was slowly winning. But no, guys, it's a stalemate. It built the ability to continue providing aid to Ukraine, officials said. But they said we could provide aid indefinitely. They said that like it's a conspiracy theory, that it's pro-Russia shills who said there was military production problems, that Russia was economy was in tatters, that they were out of tanks, that they were out of everything. And now we're hearing that that wasn't the case. And I don't know. It really makes you think. It's almost as if they were lying to the public this whole time. Okay, so they began concerns that about the ability to continue providing aid to Ukraine. Biden administration officials are also worried that Ukraine is running out of forces. Well, Russia has a seemingly endless supply, officials said. Remember when we heard that Russia was taking like 5-1 casualties, and like 80,000 Wagnerians died during the Battle of Bakhmut. Ukraine is also struggling with recruiting and has seen public protests against some of President Zelensky's open ended conscription requirements. I thought that it was just patriotic Ukrainians volunteering. And there is unease in the US government with how much less public attention the war in Ukraine has garnered since the Israeli Hamas war began nearly a month ago. Zelensky, it's not the current thing anymore. The see the people who said that this was genocide, the people who said that this is unacceptable, that never again, that this is like another Holocaust, that they would be with you as long as it takes. Something else just happened and it immediately drew their attention away. And all that shit that they said to you was complete bullshit. And none of them meant any of it. And none of them are going to support you now when stuff gets mildly tough. Which is, once again, these guys are all sleazebags. I don't like Zelensky, but like they are snaking him. Let's just be real here. They are snaking him worse than this ball of garter snakes are snaking each other. So okay, let's see here. Let's see. I'm just trying to find where was I before I got distracted. Okay, some U.S. military officials have privately begun using the term stalemate to describe the current battle in Ukraine, with some saying it may come down to which side can maintain a military force the longest. The side with military industry or the side without military industry? Officials have also privately said that Ukraine likely only has until the end of the year or shortly thereafter before more urgent discussions about peace negotiations should begin. The snakening is happening in earnest. Literally, they're just like, look, we had this 5 month counteroffensive. You have like 2 months, Ukraine, and then you're just gonna have to stop. We don't want to have to deal with this anymore. It's Jover. It's Jover. We have to end this before we get into election season for next year, and because we have to give your money to Israel. U.S. officials have shared their views on such a timeline with European allies. Any decisions about negotiations are up to Ukraine. Uh, Adriana Watson, spokesperson for the National Security Council, said in a statement. That is such bullshit. It's not. They're like, as I demonstrated in a previous video, Ukraine's entire budget deficit is more or less based on foreign aid. If the US goes, we want you to negotiate with Russia, I mean, what are they going to do? They have to negotiate with Russia. It's bullshit. It's just them fucking around with it. We are focused on continuing to stand strongly in support of Ukraine as they defend their freedom and independence against Russian aggression. Well, I mean, you obviously aren't. Like, this whole article is that you're staking on them, that you're going to throw them under the bus, and that they're going to have to come to an unfavorable peace treaty in 2 months. President Biden has been intensely focused on Ukraine's depleting military forces, according to two people familiar with the matter. I don't think he has. This is the first time I've heard him talking about it. I thought they had unlimited manpower. I thought that Russia was on the brink of collapse. And once again, people can say, well, you're making fun of something that's like really serious, and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have died or been maimed for life. Ukraine's destroyed for a generation. The whole thing's a tragedy. Yeah, but did these F slurs take it seriously? Like look at this. Like look at this like the snakening articles. These people were sucking Zelensky off like 2 months ago. They were saying that, oh, the great counteroffensive is going to work and they're going to take Crimea, and as long as it takes. And now they're just like, oh, well, it's boring now, so we're just going to give up. And it is really fake and G slur. And it's like, if they can't take it seriously, why should I take it seriously? Manpower is the administration's top concern right now. The U.S. and its allies can provide Ukraine with weaponry, this person said. No, they can't. I mean, this has been decided. I covered this in a previous video where we talked about how, like, a lot of the like shells and stuff is being diverted to Israel. But if they don't have competent forces to use them, it doesn't do a lot of good. Biden has requested that Congress authorize additional funding for Ukraine, but so far, before the Israel Hamas war began, White House officials publicly expressed confidence that additional Ukraine funding would pass Congress before the end of this year, while privately conceding concerns that it might not happen. Well, that's cool. Biden has been reassuring U.S. allies that Congress will approve more aid to Ukraine and planned a major speech on the issue. Then Hamas attacked, and it's over. It's just over. Is Putin really ready to negotiate? The Biden administration does not have any indication that Russian President Vladimir Putin is ready to negotiate with Ukraine. Two U.S. officials said. Well, I mean, Russia came to an agreement with them during the Minsk agreement. Now, was Russia ever going to abide by the terms of the Minsk agreement? No, no, they were never going to do it. But it might have bought them some time to try to build up Ukraine's army a bit more. Western officials said Putin still believes he can wait out the West or keep fighting until the U.S. and its allies lose domestic support for funding Ukraine or struggle to supply Kiev with weapons and ammunition. I mean, it literally just said that earlier in the article that Ukraine's going to have to basically surrender if they don't like turn things around in the next 2 months. Like, it's not like he's not, but it's not a belief. You admitted to it. Both Ukraine and Russia are struggling to keep up with military supplies. That's not true. Um, Russia has ramped up production of artillery rounds, and over the next couple of years may be able to produce 2 million shells per year. It's higher than that, according to a Western official. But Russia fired an estimated 10 million rounds in Ukraine last year, the official said. So it will also have to rely on other countries. I like how they don't say how many shells the US produces and how many shells Ukraine fired. That's just not. It's I think like it's I think between like 10 and 30% what Russia makes. Let's see here. Public support slipping. Public support in Ukraine's counteroffensive. Progress in Ukraine's counteroffensive has been very slow. In hope that Ukraine will make significant advances, including reaching the coast near Russia's front lines, is fading. Well, they made no progress. A lack of significant progress on the battlefield in Ukraine does not help with trying to reverse the downward trend in public support for sending more aid, officials said. And once again, this is how much pieces of shit these people are. It basically said, like, okay, guys, you're going to have to attack into fortified positions, run over minefields with no air support. Um, is like so that we can make the 5 o'clock news. That's how unserious these people are. Once again, I think it's not this article, but another article they said it's impossible to achieve tactical surprise in the modern day. And I'm like, you fuckers made a trailer. You made a fucking trailer saying you were going to launch this offensive. You announced where you were going to launch it. You gave a date. You gave force compositions. 41% of Americans said the U.S. is doing too much to help Kiev. Um, so it's down to about 50-50. It's getting pretty close to 50-50. As incentive for Zelensky to consider negotiations, NATO could offer Kiev some security guarantees. How many times have we heard this? This has happened. They've said security guarantees so many times that it never goes anywhere. Even without Ukraine formally becoming part of the alliance, officials said. That way, the Ukrainians could rest assured that Russia would be deterred from invading again. Well, how can you count on the US and Europe? They're staking you hard. They're leaving you out to dry. They pressured you to do this YOLO retarded offensive that had 0% chance of working. And now they're like, okay, let's move on to the next shiny thing. We do not assess the conflict as a stalemate. Ukraine is taking territory on a methodical, systematic basis. We looked at the New York Times article that said Russia had taken more territory this year. There's been a lot of movement. There's not been a lot of movement. So yeah, one senior official pushed back against any. The Ukrainians officials said are on a clock in terms of weather, but they're not on the clock of geo. That's isn't that sweet? Of this poor defeated picture of Zelensky. So, like I said, the snakening continues. NBC is getting on board now. Zelensky's crazy. Ukraine's going to have to surrender sooner rather than later. Um, that's that. I will continue to document the snakening as it happens. God bless everybody, and more content to come.